戦争は変わった。一つの時代が終わり、俺たちの戦争は終わった。
War has changed. It's no longer about nations, ideologies, or ethnicity. It's an endless series of proxy battles fought by mercenaries and machines. War and its consumption of life has become a well-oiled machine. War has changed. Verified soldiers carry algorithmic arms, manipulate social influence, AI enhance and regulate their timelines. Memetic control, information control, emotion control, battlefield control. Everything is monitored and kept under control. War has changed. The age of deterrence has become the age of control, all in the name of averting catastrophe from weapons of mass destruction. And he who controls the battlefield controls history. War has changed. And when the battlefield is under total control, war becomes routine.
Think outside the cage.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Crime News Talk. Today is January 19th, 2026. We are live to tape on episode 908. And today, Dawn the Dreamwalker signing on from Off the Grid, Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil, and you are not crazy.
And my name is Gonz, at Face Like the Sun, director of the Age of Deceit films, the author of Archetypalism, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Live to tape from the metaverse to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. It's Monday.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
And according to the Canary Cry calendar, which is very accurate, today in 1939, Nazi ship Schwabenland reaches Antarctica. Very interesting. It's a good day for Nazis, apparently. And of course,
they never left. They're still
they
down.
never left. Yeah, they just went right into that opening into the hollow earth, or the ice wall, or whatever you want to believe. World Economic Forum starts this week. We'll talk about that. But also today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have something to say about that, Basil, or do you have any thoughts on MLK Jr. Day? Does it affect your life? Were you indoctrinated into the MLK?
I don't have anything to say. I think he was a human being who is famous for doing some important things at his time. And of course, there's the FBI had quite an extensive file on him, which, anybody who has such an extensive FBI file deserves their own day. I'm, someday not trying to put myself on the same level, but maybe there should be some sort of service or government office that sort of translates your government file and picks a good day to celebrate all the the unspoken secrets.
I think it's your birthday if it's not some special day for you. If you're just a common citizen, the office, the birthday. Yeah.
Speaking of birthday, it's the birthday week, Gonzo.
Oh, it is. Yes. I'm getting old. I'm getting very old, is what it is. So it's not.
What are you gonna be? 29?
I've been 29 for 17 years now. So
okay,
it's pretty good. No, I'll be 43 on Thursday. So
that's nothing. That's
yeah.
Only 10 years older than Jesus.
Yeah, I guess anybody over 33 is doing great. You made it past the important 33 years that God only needed 33 years.
He was quick. He was quick.
Yeah, he just made it
in a
happen
way,
quick.
I mean, it's a testament to Jesus's ability to complete his mission on earth. You're taking an extra 14 years to get done what you need done. So, but
Yeah, a
we're
little stubborn.
enjoying every moment of it, Gons. Happy
Oh,
birthday
great.
to you.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. I got to make it to Thursday first before I can accept any of the happy birthday wishes. But MLK Jr. Day, let's hear from Candace Owens, shall we? Just because, famous speech by Martin Luther King Jr., I had a dream, and so did Candace Owens.
I had a dream. I had a dream. I had a dream. And like I said, this one was clear. I had a dream that Charlie was betrayed. I had a dream, and I feel as strongly about the dream that I had that Charlie was betrayed by people closest to him. Never ignore your subconscious. That's why I say I pay attention to my dreams.
Have you ever had a dream that...
No, you had a dream. Charlie told you he was... Yeah, Charlie told me that he was betrayed. Charlie was sitting on the patio, and he was eating hummus. He's like, this is the best hummus I've ever tasted in my life. I had a dream. It was so clear. I promise you can actually fact check this with Village Crazy Lady, my girl Mel.
You do
loving your emails, telling me about your dreams. People in Turning Point had dreams. Dreams can give you some sort of intuition, and I certainly think that mine gave me a lot of intuition. Oh, the cool kids don't pay any mind when they have a very vivid dream. And Charlie in the dream says he was betrayed. Oh, the cool kid, that's so, it's not cool. I have been having a lot of dreams.
You want
Candace Owens, and to try to paint her as a crazy person because she had a dream, and I'm sticking with the dream.
There you go. She had a lot of dreams, I think maybe half of our content can just be dreams we have, if we can just spin it up into the modern day politique, just take our dreams and weave it into all of the political turmoil going on. I think it's a good move. It might be beneficial to somebody out there.
Okay.
You find no
right dream advertisement, but people
they
put it on when they fall asleep. They tell us that they had a dream the next day. It's not on purpose, but you can dream advertise to yourself. Well, we've talked recently because we covered her dream she had. I guess one of them. Apparently, there's more. I didn't know that she had so much dream content.
It's a thing. Yeah, it's part of her
famously, lots of very open. They're very open about their ability and their research and their enthusiasm for dream advertisement, dream engineering, things like that. So it does call into question, if someone now. I reserve the right to hold judgment on exactly what's going on with Candace Owens. But, if she's causing trouble or maybe if she didn't take a deal or something, they have ways of getting their message across to an ornery podcaster,
Yeah.
So who knows? I mean, you got to check her bedroom for EMF radiation. She needs to make sure that her phone is not by her bed when she sleeps. And who knows? Maybe they're inserting, subliminal dream engineering content into her, binaural beats when she falls asleep, or her lullabies.
she's a deep, heavy binaural beats listener, long time.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, it's true. You can definitely weave some things in there, and there's truth to, like you said, falling asleep to something and having it speak into your subconscious. And I've had dreams where it's like, oh yeah, I'm dreaming about this thing I'm listening to as I fall asleep, and like being in the room or something like that. So yeah, it's a strange phenomenon.
She's eating the wrong foods, because it's long been known that eating the weird foods before bed can cause weird dreams. But it was a few years ago, I believe it was during COVID, maybe 2021, 2022. There was a couple of businesses. Now, we covered the Coors Light dream engineering. This was many years ago. I believe it was Burger King that came out with their Nightmare Whopper, or whatever their sandwich is called. That was specifically advertised to, you eat this Whopper before you go to bed, and it is like biologically engineered to give you nightmares. It's like a Halloween promotion or something like that.
Yes, yes. And I think it was 2 summers ago actually now. I think it was the summer of 2024 where I even did some X spaces about dreams and,
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
their role in sort of feeding the subconscious of the country through some talking heads and stuff. One of this is not a story about dreams or anything like that, but just because it's brought up here, the latest article I can find on some of this stuff, Inverse had an article, How to Hack Your Nightmares and Engineer Your Dreams, with psychologist Wesley Youngren on the importance of dreaming and facing our nightmares. And this is more of like your mainstream research on this subject. But it says here that Wesley Youngren is an assistant professor of psychology at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, where he's focused on work on the intersection of nightmares and post-traumatic stress disorder. Right now is a really excellent time to be a dream scientist.
Excellent.
Yeah, Youngren tells me he sat down with Inverse. Okay, so yeah, listen up, kids. Dream scientist might be a vector for study if you're going to do, college.
Yeah, what
And it did
usually that
say
means when a scientist says it's a great time to be in their science,
there's some money.
what they're really saying is that huge government tax dollar, DOJ, DOD, sorry, DARPA grants are going out. That when a scientist says it's a good time for their science, it means that the government's pumping money into it.
And why? Why would they want to pump? Usually it's to lay down the academic bricks to roll out the technology they already have, most likely. But one of the big quotes here, new research suggests that nightmares are more predictive of death by suicide than PTSD, depression, insomnia, and anxiety. So these dream scientists are really getting to the nitty gritty of all of our dreams. And we're going to fix your dreams, everybody. Yay. What about the American dream? Are they going to fix that too? Isn't it the age? Do I need to eat some gold? Is that what if I eat gold and silver? Is that going to give me, the golden
I think they want you to eat treasury bonds is more closer to what they would try to do.
Well, it's all going on chain now, so it'll all be intangible with the New York Stock Exchange announcing that they're all going on chain 24/7 trading. It's blockchain, baby, blockchain. But anyway, there you go. That's a little MLK Day. That's our homage to MLK Day. Thank you, intelligence agencies, for making a holiday of the country out of this, because we need Mondays off.
And we're going over to Basil with the weather on the 8th. Everybody, welcome. Let's go over to our correspondent in Russia. Hello.
Russia.
Yes.
I am Russian weatherman. I am here to tell you a big snowstorm, biggest in 147 years. It is excellent protection against one of the main causes of death here in Russia, and that is politicians, businessmen falling out of windows at inopportune times. We have all sorts of footage coming out of the largest. Now, listen to me, folks. This 5 meters of snow, what's a meter? About 3 feet, so 515.
It's a little over 3 feet. A yard is 3 feet, so it's a little more than that.
3 feet times so 15 feet. That's pretty significant. That's a lot. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of snow.
Locations. And there's all sorts of crazy videos. One of the ones that really popped out at us, Gons, was this fellow who was able to jump. Do we know what story he's on? And I thought this was the most important one. Okay, we'll look into the snow in a moment. Oh, I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. This storm happened in Kamchatka, which many people might actually know where Kamchatka is, because it is one of the territories on the board game Risk. It's why I know where Kamchatka is, and I think it's where probably 99% of Americans know where Kamchatka is. It is right across I think it's called the Bering Strait. I could be wrong. I think maybe that's in Europe. It's right across from Alaska. It's very far north, over there by Alaska, and that's where lots of cold stuff happens. Okay, it's cold stuff, cold place, 15 feet of snow. And yes, this next video we can look at real quick is the one that really triggered the deep connection to the Canary Cry theory of everything. Here's a fellow, he's all dressed up in his snow gear, he's wearing a mask, you can see him here standing in his apartment, and he's going to take a daring leap out the window, which is very important for Russians to practice. Let's see what happens.
Hey, we're gonna get copyright strike from the Putin.
I was gonna say there's a not insignificant chance that there was all sorts of nasty Russian language in that rap song. It just had that vibe to it, you know.
Yeah, we need to ask our Russian handler if that was appropriate or not.
He jumps right out the window, does a little half flip, lands on his back in a gigantic pile of snow. To all internet viewers, this man seems to be safe. But of course, we've been following along with Russian defenestration syndrome, which is a scourge, a plague that has been sweeping Russia for many years, especially during the Putin administration, where businessmen and politicians and, protesters and stuff, man, they just cannot stop falling out of windows over there.
They got to stop. They got to stop getting into any buildings with stairs or elevators. Just don't do it.
It seems like maybe the U.S. intelligence agency saw maybe a case of defenestration syndrome coming with maybe a CIA asset or maybe
a whistleblower, yes, like a rebellious asset from within or something. Something good's gonna happen. We got to front run it with the.
They got to fire up HARP, they got HARP over there in Alaska. It would maybe be the easiest thing in the world to cause 15 feet of snow in Kamchatka. They're just a stone's throw away. And I pray that whoever the, HARP
engineer,
we're trying
the console there,
create a soft landing for, I think they're going to be safe for at least another day.
That would be a fantastic narrative to create positive associations with a technology like HARP. We're going to be posting memes, Basil, a little Freudian slip, in like a year of hey, 5 years ago we were calling out HARP and now everyone loves HARP because they're stopping the deep state from killing people. Yeah, exactly. So, I'm sure that'll be the talk in a few months,
I'm sure, whatever unfortunate loss of life comes from all of this snowfall in Kamchatka will be offset by the amount of politicians and businessmen that would have otherwise died falling out of a window.
Yes.
There's a lot of this footage, though, and as someone who grew up in a place where there was lots of snow, I've been in pretty significant storms like this. Lots of, snow over the front door, lots of jumping out of the second story, window in a big pile. So I've been in big snowstorms. And this is the main clip that's been going around. And one thing with big storms like this, especially the more technical snowfall there gets, it's not necessarily the 15 feet that falls on a flat surface that is the most impressive, but with that much snow, there's a lot of wind and snowdrifts. And here's a sort of drone footage of some apartment buildings that show snowdrifts that blow. You can just play without the sound there. That pretty much go to the top of like a 5-story apartment building. Now, this particular clip does not look impossible. It shows some, nice, big, huge piles of snow piling up on the roof. Roofs caving in is also a problem. But right there,
I don't know about that right there. That looks like this clip. Lost City has emerged out of an avalanche or something.
That has got to be that's gotta be a little 150-foot snowdrift. And it's just, you got the 5-story building, and then it just towers another height of the building over the building. And I'm seeing a ton of people post this clip, which is like, oh my gosh, isn't this incredible? And I think it's a good example of, I have no reason to believe that lots of this footage is real. But at the very end, they're just sneaking in just the most ludicrous footage, and an example of lots of people posting it, not being like, whoa, this has to be just totally serious, respectable accounts by all accounts, posting this with the AI footage mixed in. And this is where the real danger we see a lot with videos nowadays, because of course it's very important for us to like steel ourselves to be even more than ever sort of have sound minds when watching even protest footage. You're seeing protest footage with just these random little 2-second little AI clips mixed in that show something that didn't happen, but it's 2 seconds in a clip that's maybe 30 seconds. And this is where the very effective social engineering nudges come through. Now, I don't know. Could there possibly be some kind of, topographical or geographical thing that caused the snowdrift to be the size of the Empire State Building? Maybe. But it's more concerning that just slipping these tiny little moments into real footage is going to have such a massive impact on everything, on every piece of information that we will possibly ever see, Gons.
Yeah, it's too bad. It's gonna be difficult to verify anything going on from anywhere. But the Russian politicians and businessmen might be safe, but there are some downstream effects. I don't know if you saw this in Michigan this morning, Basil. Zeeland, Michigan. There was 100-car pileup.
Yeah.
And hopefully everyone's safe and nobody got hurt or anything. But I mean, it looks pretty horrific. It looks pretty bad. You got a lot of big rig trucks all smashed up. I mean, I know we get this type of thing every year, but are they usually 100 cars?
Yeah, not quite every year. Fortunately, we only get something like this maybe about every 3 to 5 years. But yeah, massive. I mean, just unreal amount of damage. And the real damage with this, most people, especially if you're a local in a place that has this kind of weather, most smart people are not blasting down the highway when it's this much snow. But the real danger is not zooming up on this and crashing into the back of cars, although that's very dangerous. It's the cars that hit you afterwards. Because something like this, it might take a half hour for 100 cars to pile up like this. But you get in a little fender bender, you're stopped in the middle of the road. You gotta get out of there as soon as possible, because it is just a marathon of cars coming through and blasting into the back of your car, blasting in, and damage can really be done even if there's five cars behind you. That cushion really takes a while to lessen the impact from each new car.
Right. Yeah.
Devastating. So of course we pray for every person who might be in a situation like this. And if there's any Canarians in an area like this, let us know. Give us a boots on the ground report. What's going on? I did just see a further report that this sort of mega snow storm sweeping across the eastern United States might continue and might actually get worse. So
climate change, global warming.
This is those fellows over at HARP again, just cranking it up.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, well, when you have lemons.
That's right. We're going to be talking about Don Lemon for a moment here. Of course, the protests in Minneapolis have been ongoing. The wine moms chasing down ICE in the middle of the street continues. The hullabaloo is not backing off. And of course, when we see something as orchestrated as this sort of thing, we know for a fact that it is exactly that, orchestrated. The organic, the fifth generation warfare is not just AI clips in weather reports, but also the ongoing sort of besiegement of a certain topic. And Don Lemon's in hot water today because he was present at what organizers would call a protest. Well, do you recall? Shoot, I forgot to make note of this. Was this in Minneapolis? Do you recall? I think it's in Minneapolis.
So. Yeah, I think it is. Let me play. I didn't know we had this jingle. There is a Chuck Norris jingle, but it says church here, so I don't know. Let's see.
Okay.
It's time.
I remember that one, but why does it say church?
I don't know either.
It's time church.
I'm pretty sure we have no, I can't find it. I thought we had a Don Lemon one too, but
I thought so too. It didn't pull anything up, but it's it's possible that it's buried somewhere and it's not.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so Don Lemon was present and recorded all sorts of content for his show when a protest that originated from Black Lives Matter chapters in Minneapolis took the time on a Sunday morning to organize. And, there's different words being used. Protest is one of them. Invade is another. A church, as a church service was going on. And this is a bit of we'll play some clips here. I want to start. And let's keep an ear out with everything we know, okay, about everything we try to keep an eye out for, everything we know about Don Lemon, everything we know about this super organic movement in Minneapolis. Let's play this clip. It was a clip from Don Lemon's show that he recorded on the scene. This was before the protest took place while they were gathering.
They're getting the operation together again. This is an operation that is secret, that they invited folks out. Can't tell you what is going to happen, but you're going to watch it live unfold here on the Don Lemon Show. There are for this reason, it may look like MAGA coded, but there's a reason they have so many white people here. I'm just going to be honest. It's because of the operation that they're doing today. It's important to have allies, as they said, white allies here.
Okay, about white allies. What are you talking about, Don? There's like 5 people there, maybe more. Maybe there's like 6 or 7. But this is not a.
He'll talk more about this, and this is the thing with Don Lemon. He's a bit of a one-trick pony, and he's talking about how he showed up to this pre-protest. First of all, it's really funny, for his show. He's like, we're here at this very secret thing. We can't tell you what's going to happen, but we'll broadcast it live on the Don Lemon Show. And he's standing in a very snowy parking lot. He's got his big parka on, and the camera kind of moves around at the beginning, and maybe, I don't know, we could go through and count everybody, but less than 20. There's less than 20 people standing in the parking lot here. And he makes a point, more than once, as we will see, to call it MAGA coded. And this is, let's say, a very snowy, cold morning, because it's church morning. Everybody's bundled up to the nines. It's freezing. There's maybe 3 to 6 inches of snow on the ground. It's currently snowing. And he looks around and he's like, oh, there's a lot of white people here. Oh, it's MAGA coded. I cannot believe
what is going on. Why are we doing
from this? But don't worry, it's MAGA coded, but it's because we need white allies. Now, this is in response to the Renee Good shooting, a white woman who was very unfortunately shot in a confrontation where she hit an ICE officer with her car. And he's just sort of obsessed with the race of the people showing up for this super secret.
It's like once they made Don Lemon in a lab during, like the woke era, that was he was designed for that era. The world now is past he hasn't gotten the firmware update, he's kind of stuck in like 2010 or something.
He's totally out of sync. He's totally out of sync with even the Democrat talking points who are trying to kind of lean away from this kind of talk. There's a minute and a half left on this. If that was the main point, we can play a little bit more just to kind of get a feel for because this will be important. All of this video evidence will become very important for Don Lemon.
I'm just imagining being at a church in the morning in the parking lot with a few people, and Don Lemon and his crew shows up, and it's like, oh boy, what is going on here? I would walk away. I'd cover my face. I'd be like, oh, don't put me in this footage. But okay, here's a few more.
Especially
seconds.
as he's calling you MAGA coded. As
he's whispering into his microphone right in front of the. It's MAGA. Look at all these white people here.
Like Black Lives Matter invite to do a protest, and he's calling you MAGA coded. All right, continue.
Oh boy.
Guys here. So that is what I could say. I turned our camera off of them because they're giving some critical information here. But there we go. Everybody's ready to go. Let's go. Okay.
You're on the move.
On the move.
Thank you guys for being. Thanks for allowing me to be here. Thank you guys.
Okay.
How are you?
Good.
To see you. We're on. We're not.
Oh, he kissed the black lady. Did he just find himself the one black lady that's there and just?
Well, yeah, that's happens to be exactly what happens. This is the organizer he'll talk to in a moment.
Okay.
Saying what it is, what's going on, but thank you. Tell us why you're doing this.
So
this is Nakima Levy Armstrong. She's on the show
Nakima
on Friday.
Levy Armstrong, civil rights attorney, longtime activist here in the community, and we protest and do activism in all kinds of ways. This is Operation Pull Up, more of a clandestine operation. We show up somewhere that is a key location. They don't expect us to come there, and then we disrupt business as usual. So that's what we're about to go do right now. We've had a lot of success with the times we have done Operation Pull Up.
Yeah.
After George Floyd was killed, we went to the Police Federation head's home and staged a demonstration there. We also went to the head of the U.S. Marshals from Minnesota after Winston Smith was killed by the U.S. Marshals. We went there after Dante Wright was killed when AG Keith Ellison.
The clip stopped right there. But yeah, she's got a Rolodex of so Operation Pull Up, huh? You just pull up on people and disrupt the normalcy. Okay.
Make a point. Here's another clip, another opportunity for Don Lemon to tell us what's going on. Again, in a parking lot. In a cold place.
Into Minneapolis a little bit ago, and did some reconnaissance on the ground, speaking to an organization that's gearing up for resistance and protest.
So this must be before the little meeting that we just watched.
Maybe it looks like it. Yeah, maybe when he first showed up.
Been pleasantly surprised to see the community coming together. Diverse community. If you see this, when we first pulled up, we're like, wait a minute, which operation are we at? And as it turns out, because we're like, well, this is kind of MAGA coded, right? So the American flag or whatever, but these are resistance protesters. They're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on. I can't tell you exactly what they're doing, but it's called Operation Pull Up. And it's Nakima Armstrong, and she has been doing this since George Floyd, Dante Wright, and others, where they surprise people, catch them off guard, and hold them to account. And so that's what we're doing here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see it live. And these operations are surprise operations. Again, can't tell you where they're going.
All right. So do we get to see the actual operation here? Is that what's the op?
Well, that's exactly what we did. We can grab the clip if we want here, but let me jump over here to the Daily Mail with an explanation. And it says, this is interesting because remember, this is Daily Mail, and we know kind of where they stand historically. And the article reads, a left-wing mob stormed...
Oh, is that playing for you? Sorry.
Yeah,
it should not be playing for you.
That's okay. You can play it in the background with the sound down. A left-wing mob stormed a Minnesota church to protest immigration and customs enforcement, stopping services and leaving worshipers furious. Protesters interrupted Sunday service at City's Church in St. Paul, angrily demanding ICE out and accusing a senior leader of the church of working with the agency. One demonstrator said they were demanding justice for Renee Good, the 37-year-old Minneapolis mother fatally shot by ICE agent Jonathan Ross earlier this month. Quote, this will not stand. They cannot pretend to be a house of God while harboring someone who is commanding ICE agents to terrorize our communities, Nakima Levy Armstrong said. The protester was being questioned by Don Lemon, who followed the marchers as they stormed into the service. The protest action disrupted the Sunday service, with many worshipers leaving in disgust after being harassed by protesters. And you can see in the footage being played here in the background, protesters enter the building. They then single file kind of go all the way around the congregation, filling the aisles and yelling and shouting. And in the full footage, you can see people getting up and leaving. You can see just kind of standing and staring, children being very upset by this. We'll get Don Lemon's comments on that later. But let's see here. Here's a quote. "These people have come into our house and they've interrupted our worship. Everybody's gone home. Their prophet has been proven worthless and their point has been proven worthless. And so in the end, I think they'll lose," said one churchgoer. "I feel violated. I feel interrupted. I feel angry." Lemon, who operates as an independent journalist after being fired by CNN, spoke to one of the pastors at Church Cities, who said the protesters refused to have a peaceful dialogue. And we actually have a clip here with Don Lemon.
Yeah.
After everything, now keep in mind, I mean, this is highly disruptive. They invade the church. They surround, sort of trapping the congregants during the service, shouting, yelling, these types of things. And most of them get up and leave. And then Don Lemon, who's just kind of like tagging along, filming and, got his microphone out, trying to capture the moment, the drama. And there's a moment further on in the incident that Don Lemon gets up there and gets a moment with the pastor of the church. And here is a response here with Don Lemon talking to the pastor.
What do you think of this? I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. So, but there were folks will. I have to take care of my flock. Okay, but listen, we live in there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest. We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ. I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me though. We're here to worship Jesus. Yes. That's why we're here. Yes. Okay. That's why we're here. That's what we're about. Do you think Jesus would be understanding we're about and love these folks? We're about spreading the love of Jesus. But did you try to talk to them as a no Christian? One is willing to talk. Okay. I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building. You don't want us to unless you're here to worship. Unless you're here to worship. I'm always worship. I'm a Christian. We're here to worship. Yeah. We're here to worship. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So he makes one point here, and it's funny because you gotta love the left. You gotta love the left in their understanding of constitutional rights and things like this. Of course, it's the left. Don Lemon himself talking about how the Constitution is just a piece of paper and how it's just what's in the Constitution doesn't apply for today. He's even fought against the rights, the First Amendment rights of people online, things like this. But he's saying, hey, it's our First Amendment right to step onto private property and interrupt a church service because we have a point to make. Now, in case somebody missed it earlier, let's see here. I was trying to look for the exact spot in this article, but the reason they say they came to this particular church is they claim that one of the associate pastors, it is unclear whether it is this pastor he's talking to here, but someone employed by the church is also employed by ICE. And so that sort of targeted
the crime.
Yes, the crime of having two jobs.
We've discussed sort of the flippening of the ICE narrative in this country as well. With 10, 15 years ago, the conspiracy theorists were saying, hey, they're going to use something like ICE and they're going to round up the illegal immigrants and that's going to roll out the surveillance apparatus in this country. And everyone went, nah, that's never going to happen. And then now, without even realizing it, everyone's going pro-ICE. Everyone's got to defend ICE because the liberals hate ICE. The PSYOP is strong, Basil. It works in all kinds of directions. And you can agree You can agree with the moment, you know, you can be kind of, as a prisoner of the moment, you can say like, oh yeah, these Asians who are just citizens, you know, they don't deserve this kind of treatment. And of course they're just doing their job, and there's all sorts of things, but just as a principle, you know, when you kind of step back and look at everything, it's interesting how the culture has shifted with something like that. But I also want to say,
the optics do matter. 60 to 70% of people at the election time where Donald Trump got elected were in favor of mass deportations. And then, you know, but it is, of course, the optics and the sort of psyop war, the persistent drumbeat of the information, disinformation, you know, this kind of stuff, the full scale, ongoing agitation, the agitation propaganda, agitprop, things like this, that are aiming to, well, inevitably just change the outcome of the midterms, of course. But yeah,
well,
you
Trump's
know,
even out there saying we shouldn't even have a midterm. That's more about the voting issues. But one of the things before you go on, that I wanted to mention is that I was waiting for a reason why they picked this church, but also depending on the church and their security, that what they did there might have not have ended well for them with like certain, at least I know of some churches that they've, you know, beefed up their security over the last few years because of everything going on in this country and whatnot. And yeah, if they did that to one of those churches, it might turn out bad for the people that are protesting. So thankfully,
perhaps,
you know, the people
yeah,
are
it
fairly peaceful.
depends on the actions that it takes to get in, you know, if there's breaking and entering involved or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, the
I
way
mean, I
they
think this
stormed
turned
in
out
though,
the best possible scenario. Again, you know, I was talking on Thursday at Clubhouse, just we all know this, but just so we can all orient our understanding of what this whole year is going to be like, is it's going to be complete madness. There's going to be chaos. The stakes are going to be high. We're going to see things and be told things that are, you know, are absolutely off the charts as far as everything's designed to elicit reaction, to cause stress, to agitate. And this particular action, you know, is incredibly agitating for so many reasons. Of course, the targeting of Christians, you know, the targeting of a religious institution. Of course, there's mixed in the immigration issue here. There's a few more factors that is really designed to just ramp up the stakes for this particular situation. And, you know, what we talked about on Thursday was this is going to be the year. Okay. We're all wondering what's going to happen. Let's face it. 2025 was one thing. 2026 is going to be an entirely different thing. But there's an opportunity here. And I am feeling strangely optimistic in one way, which is we're going to be continuously bombarded with high stakes situations where the narrative, you know, we're going to be on the razor's edge of madness pretty much all year long. However, as believers in Christ and as Christians and as people who continuously try to, you know, go drawing close to the Father and walk in the Spirit every day, it gives us a particular insight and a particular set of skills to endure this kind of madness. And so far, and I think we're going to see this over and over, we'll be faced with these situations that are incredibly high stakes and, you know, a little bit maddening. But I think we're going to watch, and this is me being optimistic, okay? I think as we analyze and digest things as they happen, I think we're going to find that the outcome of many of these super high stakes situations engineered by the adversary are going to end in possibly the best possible way. Not to say that it'll be good or that we'll be happy about it, but considering the level of potentiality of madness and bad responses, I'm praying and I'm hopeful that out of all the possible responses or reactions or outcomes of various situations, that they're going to be something like the best possible one. You know, Maduro in Venezuela is a good example. That could have gone so sideways and could have caused so much trouble in the world, but it happened to go pretty well. I think we're seeing this with some economic circumstances. And I think this is one example of what we're going to see, because like you say, if this did turn into church goers shooting protesters, that would be bad. That would be one of the
Of course
worst
it would be bad.
ways.
That's you're right. That's the
I'm not
possibility.
arguing with you. I'm
No, I know
building
you're not
on
arguing.
thesis. You know,
No, I
if
know.
there were a confrontation, a fight, a shooting, something like that,
Right.
that's what the adversary wants. That is
Right.
like the best possible scenario for the
That would have been a great outcome for Don Lemon, actually. I mean,
Would have been great for
barring
Don
he's
Lemon.
the one that actually gets hit. But yes, if something like that did happen, it would further, make bold the thesis for the left liberal Don Lemon camp of folk.
Yeah.
Going
And in
around,
this
so.
case, at least the clips that are, mostly making the rounds, you get the pastors, he's being very,
I
very,
think he did a good job. I think
did a
he
fine
knows.
job considering. And Don Lemon looks like a fishing, agitating fool.
He looks like a robber. He's got the beanie on. He took his hat off. He has a beanie on now. This is a black
He looks
beanie,
like he's
black
trying
hood.
to lure out, an argument, something where this pastor can say something stupid, or he can say something inflammatory, and he just focuses on Jesus. Now, I'm not saying that, whatever, this pastor could have done whatever, but at least this, we're here to worship. That's what this is about. We're here to worship. I don't have a comment on what you're trying to get out of me, didn't buy into it. And this is reflected in what we saw with the, turns out I do want to correct myself. When I played the clip last episode of what I called Renee Good's father on CNN, that was her father-in-law.
Father-in-law, right.
I believe it was her father-in-law. So it was not her father. However, his response to the CNN person trying to goad him into getting mad at ICE or being inflammatory or freaking out or something, just focused on God, just focused on Christ, focused on these higher spiritual concepts. And it defused the bomb. It was its own spiritual weapon that just neutralized the battlefield. I think this pastor did a pretty good job, given the circumstances, of just focusing on Christ. And in these clips, most of them, what you see is Don Lemon LARPing. He is LARPing. This is live action role play. He's in the, he's pretending to be a wartime correspondent. He's pretending that he's in a club. I can't
What did
tell
he say?
you.
He called it, what did he say? He didn't say boots on the ground. What did he say? He said it was like a military clandestine.
About clandestine, and this is a secret operation. And I get to be here at this secret operation, and it's blah, blah, blah. And, given how everything turned out, he looks like an absolute idiot, a fool, a LARPer, a maniacal LARPer. And this is the correct way for this to turn out. And because we cannot control, given this situation, we're going to be put in lots of these high stakes situations, either from afar or up close. We cannot control the situations that are going to come up. We cannot control the narrative built around these. We cannot control any of that. What we can control is our response, whether we are put into the situation of this pastor, focusing on Jesus and, not engaging with the LARPing fools, or even our response from afar. Okay. Because this is obviously designed to get Christians riled up. This is designed for a lot of things. But like the pastor did, if we do this ourselves also, keep focusing on Christ, keep focusing on the real spiritual battle, keep focusing on this kind of stuff, and not buy in to fight the battle that they want us to fight, things are going to turn out better than we expected.
Yeah.
Now, part of what makes, go ahead, you have something to say?
I was just going to say a couple things. One, there's even a moment in this clip where it looks like maybe the pastor put his hand on his arm or his hip or something, and Don Lemon took offense to that. He was like, "Oh, get your hand off me, sir!"
He's like getting in his face. He's leaning in. You can see the pastor leaning out. He's like,
he's a little uncomfortable with how close
he's leaning out. Don Lemon is getting really close to his face. He's like yelling in a microphone. He's putting that microphone in his face. The pastor keeps trying to back up and put distance between them because look, he just had a quasi-militant protester force take over.
Right. Yeah.
Church.
That's
Like,
yeah. He's in a state, right? All things considered, and again, we have no idea who this pastor is. We don't know his history, whatever. But all things considered, he handled this very well in terms of responding both in the moment and also with a microphone in his face. Don Lemon, gangsta Don Lemon in his face.
Well, yeah, and the point being with that moment that Don Lemon honestly gets pretty aggressive. Again, looking like a total fool. You can't really see it in frame, but you can tell the pastor's trying to put space between them. Don Lemon keeps closing that space. He's like yelling in his face. You can kind of see just by the movement of his shoulder that maybe he kind of put his hand up against his jacket to be like, hey, stop getting so close to me, something like that.
Right.
Because of course, I mean, if I were this pastor, I would be extremely wary of potential violence, no matter what.
I would imagine that's what's going through his mind, and he's probably, I mean, a disruption of a church service of any kind, but especially when there's a mob that comes in, you expect something crazy is going to happen. But, to your point about our reaction and our response as Christians, and maybe that's the good that comes out of this. It doesn't have to be reported, right? You're touching on something that's not going to be necessarily acknowledged in the media space. It'll just happen. Like the interview with the guy, it happened, and maybe some social media commentary on it or something, but it's not going to necessarily reveal itself clearly in the media. But I also think that once you're, it's pretty easy to, not easy, I would say, but it is, especially currently in 2026, if you're a Christian, if you're a conservative, it's a little bit easier if a liberal's in your face with something or whatever accusations to be like, hey, chill, like we, have this conversation or whatever it is. You can have that more calm reaction, I suppose, or even point to Jesus in that moment. I think it's never a bad move.
It's the winning move every time.
It's the winning move for sure. The other side of the op is within the conservative, not dichotomy, but the dynamics within the conservatives or Christians or the church. There's a lot of different nuanced views, and that's where there's a whole different psyop taking place. And it's all tied into the politics of it all. But, I just want to point that out too, because it's not like once you're a Christian and you do this thing and you push back on the liberals and the Don Lemons and whatnot, that you're in some kind of unified voice, but you find that you enter that conservative room and everyone's got a different view, and now everyone's calling other believers demonic, and it gets pretty hairy out there. And that's another part of the conversation here, but it's
and that's going to happen when Jesus isn't the
fullness, the focus, right? That's what I wanted to come back to, is that room of Christians agree on who Jesus is and who, what he represents, what he did for humanity and for all of us. So when that gets taken out of the central theme of things, you're probably going to start dividing, being part of the division. And of course there is going to be a division with believers and non-believers. I mean, it says as much in the scriptures, but as far as like throwing mud or slinging at each other, it's easier to push back on a Don Lemon than it is, say, like a pre-tribber or something. But that's all coming, I think. And as a body of Christ, we should be standing pretty firm on Christ in this moment, because right now it's the Don Lemons. In a few years it'll just be robots. It'll just be the liberal progressive robots who are literally trying to steal your spouse and your children, and it'll be a whole different game. So enjoy these moments, stand for Christ, and then the robots come, still stand for Christ. And it looks like Revelation 13 talks about how that ends, which is Christ's return. So there we go. Is there anything? There's more Don Lemon clips here.
There's more.
There's more news. There's like breaking news today.
Yeah. So of course, Polymarket, the most hard-hitting news organization now, where the news channels get their news. Polymarket tweeted at 9:50 a.m. this morning, breaking DOJ to charge Don Lemon under the KKK Act for allegedly inciting church raid. Now, I'm not sure if Polymarket is putting that the best way possible. However, this is kicking back on Don Lemon pretty good. There was some social media posts by people who were there on Facebook who said, wow, we're so proud of our people for showing up, and tagged like 10 people who were there. Really made sure that it's really easy for any law enforcement to know, who to, let's say, go ask questions to. We have a couple different versions of this story because it turns out there's a couple versions of this story. The first one I'm going to take from a couple different outlets just for the fun of watching it develop. The first one is from the independent.co.uk, and the headline is MAGA calls for Don Lemon to be arrested under FACE Act after Minnesota church protest. Says MAGA activists are calling for the arrest of journalist Don Lemon over his part in a protest at a Minnesota church on Sunday, in which demonstrators interrupted its services to oppose ICE's presence in their state. The group stormed. Okay, let me jump down here. Where is the?
There's a quote here.
Well,
from Nikema Levy Armstrong. That was the protester.
There's lots of quotes. I'm trying to get specifically. Let me just do a searchy poo. Here it is. Clips of the event shared on social media by outraged conservatives with the MAGA voice, calling for Lemon to be investigated, blah, blah, blah. An influencer, Benny Johnson, claiming that the journalist's actions amounted to not just an obscene violation of the FACE Act, it's likely a hate crime. Johnson was alluding to the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances, or FACE Act of 1994, which created a legal protection for reproductive health clinics and places of worship, making it a crime to use force against, obstruct, or seek to intimidate anyone operating such venues. We can jump over here to allaboutLawyer.com to get a little bit on the FACE Act. It says, what is the FACE Act law? Federal protection against violence and intimidation, criminal penalties, and nationwide enforcement explained. The FACE Act, Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, codified at 18 U.S.C. 248, is a federal law enacted in 1994 that prohibits violence, threats, intimidation, and property damage targeting individuals seeking or providing reproductive health services, as well as individuals at places of religious worship. The law is enforced by the Department of Justice and Federal Bureau of Investigation and carries criminal penalties, including up to 11 years imprisonment for violent conduct and fines up to $250,000. The Department of Justice has filed more than 15 FACE actions in more than a dozen states since the law's enactment, demonstrating federal commitment to protecting constitutional rights and public safety at covered facilities. I saw a statistic somewhere else that said a quarter of all FACE Act cases were done under the last Biden administration, and 97% of all FACE Act cases came against people protesting abortion clinics. So it's very rarely been applied to churches or places of worship. But I thought this was very interesting. You know, we've talked about this sort of occult roots and the occult parallels of the law, and and sort of grimoires, occult documents, the language of law versus the language of spells, all very interesting and have so many things in common. But in that context, the sort of supernatural context, very interesting how this law makes a statement on the legal level that abortion clinics and religious places of worship have sort of equal protection under this law, almost as if they're implying that abortion clinics are some sort of religious temple. which, of course, for those been paying attention recently, the long history of child sacrifice, both in ancient sort of Hebraic interactions in biblical times, as well as really around the world, the child sacrifice done in South America in previous times, this sort of thing. Child sacrifice has been a religious act for thousands and thousands of years. And just very interesting. I'm not saying that they were intending to imply that abortion clinics had the
it
same...
probably came about because it was the religious people that were going to target these abortion clinics, and so to create I'm imagining, I don't know for sure, but for the time being, like, okay, if you're going to protect these abortion clinics, then the churches have to get some kind of equal level of protection.
I don't
but
know
also,
why
you're
they
right.
would
I also think you're right that there
I
is.
don't know why you would have to include a church in a abortion protection law. I don't know where else we see that. Who knows? You might be right. I think you're laying down kind of our starting point. We should definitely have that understanding. Perhaps it was done to not look like you're giving one group of people more protection over the other. We can start there, but it is also pretty weird.
32 years later,
religious institutions.
Yes. No, I think you're right. There is again, a lot of things don't look like what they will be in the future. You think one thing, a few years later, it has a different context.
And it's all about precedent
society.
Too. That's how the laws work through the courts adjudicating on specific laws like that. That is how precedent is set, and that is how legal definitions and legal equality is sort of hashed out in the courts after a law is made. This essentially implies that abortion clinics are similar to religious.
They're places of worship. They are sacred spaces equivalent to a religious worship.
Which, of course, a lot of people on the left would say that
they would. Yes, they're like, yes, we're sacrificing the child for power and for our own ascension or something,
freedom,
independence, whatever it is. Yeah. So it does make sense.
We can try to be sort of, we want to try to be level-headed and not just be alarmist and be wackadoodle about it. But that's the funny thing, is a lot of people on the left would say that abortion clinics are holy ground or sacred spaces.
Well, you think about it, and I guess they didn't have a place. Like the religious people have church. They have this place communally where anyone can come, and it's sort of a publicly known gathering place. But for leftists, especially in the 90s, I would assume a little bit harder. They got to go out into the woods in the middle of the night and stuff. They didn't have a public place for that.
Well, it's coffee. It's Starbucks and abortion clinics. Okay. So that was from independent.co.uk, a famous.
Okay, so let me just mention that it does say that MAGA calls for, and that's part of it, right? The MAGA is calling for the use. This is no actual thing that happened. This is just MAGA or a few MAGA accounts bringing up the FACE Act, correct?
Let me compare this, right? So there was, that's the law that this seems like it would be under, but independent.co.uk, famously sort of liberal outlet, very anti-Trump. Even the fact that they put MAGA in the headline, in the context of the Independent, that's them burning MAGA. That's them getting one over on Trump, saying that MAGA, even the use of the word MAGA, referring to a homogenous group of people, is like a leftist thing to do. And so you have the left saying MAGA calling for the FACE Act. Now you go over to some conservative outlets like the Daily Caller, and here is what they're reporting. Don Lemon may be charged under Ku Klux Klan Act for church invasion. And it tells the story there. And it says the Department of Justice is investigating whether the Sunday anti-deportation protest Lemon recorded in Minneapolis violated multiple civil rights, blah, blah, blah. Oh, give me the Ku Klux Klan Act here. Let me just do a quick thing because we don't want to have to read this whole thing.
It is actually sort of hysterical to have a picture of Don Lemon, who just can't stop talking about race. Like, that's his whole angle. He leads with race, and the whole race war.
Race war. I've warned you and warned you and warned you.
Getting charged with the Ku Klux Klan Act for church invasion would be, the irony just writes itself.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is going to happen.
It says here, Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Harmeet Dillon, said on Monday that Ku Klux Klan Act charges may be on the table for former CNN host Don Lemon, protesters who crashed a church in Minnesota. Now when I saw this and was reading other stuff, I was like, oh, interesting. Maybe Ku Klux Klan Act is kind of a different word, like a different name. Bills will have like nicknames or whatever. Maybe it's referring to the same thing.
The Daily Caller does say here, Dillon said laws that may have been broken include freedom of access to clinic entrances, that's the FACE Act, which prohibits the obstruction of houses of worship, and the 1987 Ku Klux Klan Act criminalizing conspiring against a person's civil rights. So
there's actually a weird. It's weird that they said 1987, and maybe I'm just missing. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's an update or something. But I'm kind of browsing here. Okay, it looks like there was an update. Maybe 1983. Let's see, 1985. Okay, so they've been adding 1986. Okay, so this is the Ku Klux Klan Act.
A long old
the
thing.
Enforcement Act of 1871.
Yeah.
So 150 years old. Let's see here. Or they have lots of different names for it. Is an act of the United States Congress that was intended to combat paramilitary vigilantism of the Ku Klux Klan. The act made certain acts committed by private citizens federal offenses, including conspiring to deprive citizens of their right to hold office, serve on juries, or enjoy equal protection under the law. The act authorized the president to deploy federal troops to counter the Klan and to suspend the writ of habeas corpus to make arrests without charge. Now, so far, we're hearing from the DOJ that the Ku Klux Klan Act is much more likely, and not a whole lot of talk about the FACE Act. The FACE Act, is being mentioned by people online, but is being reported mostly by the.
It's an op. It's an op to justify the protection of abortion clinics.
Yeah, well, the left, they seem to appreciate more bringing up the FACE Act because it's,
that's what I'm saying.
They do not like bringing up the Ku Klux Klan Act because on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, charging a black man, Don Lemon, under the Ku Klux Klan Act has a significant,
a lot more power behind it for the yes, I agree. I wonder if because the Daily Caller says 1987 Ku Klux Klan Act, and there is nothing. Well, there's nowhere else that's mentioned. There's a few things leading up to 1987.
In the Wikipedia, Section 6, which was added in 1986, so maybe it was written in 86 and whatever.
Implemented it, sure.
Yeah,
but I wonder if it's like its own op, isn't Daily Caller Tucker? Isn't that Tucker's thing? Or is he?
I don't think he's there anymore, but he was involved in its inception. It says, known as Section 1986, imposes civil liability upon persons who know of a violation of Section 1985 or a planned violation of 1985, who are in a position to prevent it, but who fail to prevent it, fail to attempt to prevent it, or fail to assist in its prevention. While other sections create a remedy against conspirators who deprive people of their rights, Section 1986 creates a remedy against persons whose acquiescence makes such conspiracies possible. Legislators recognize, so that it goes on as an explanation. So for Don Lemon specifically, who did not necessarily plan to do this, he has, you know, some plausible deniability in his even participation in the protest necessarily, as we will see his response here soon. But because he failed to prevent it, or failed to attempt to prevent it as he knew it was happening, that puts him under the 1986 section of the Ku Klux Klan Act, much more specifically than trying to get him on the FACE Act.
Now, they did use the Ku Klux Klan Act to try to go after the January 6th protesters.
Yeah, this has been used. Biden used it plenty of times. How the I can't even say it. Ku Klux Klan Act is usually wielded is often the FACE Act and the Ku Klux Klan Act will be brought in tandem, because the Ku Klux Klan, I would say KKK, KKK Act
KKK. 3K
can be added onto other charges to increase their thing. So, like with people who got arrested for protesting abortion clinics, they will be charged under the FACE Act, but then they will add the KKK Act to increase sentencing. So that's how some of these people who protested outside of an abortion clinic would get like 11 years for protesting. So there's a lot of jurisprudence. It's been used quite a bit. It's a fairly reliable way to at least increase the sentencing or the the conviction rate or whatever. Because it's very specific. You can have this added by simply not attempting to prevent a crime, specifically one that violates people's equal rights. And so this will be a First Amendment freedom of speech, freedom of expression of religion. Of course, there will be, disruption of orderly conduct, things like this. So Don Lemon, this came pretty quick early this morning. Harmeet Dillon, the fella whose job it is to bring these sorts of charges. And we have a clip here. Let's see, what clip is this? Let me look at this. Just to add, this is a little cherry on top. This is a clip of Don Lemon walking around the outside of the church as people are coming out. And goodness gracious, I mean, play this in court and see what happens.
Watch this guy here, look, hugging this kid. And I imagine it's uncomfortable and traumatic for here, but again, careful, it's very slippery right here. Yeah. It's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people, really, but that's what really careful.
I'm sorry, are you talking? I can't tell.
Yeah, can you back it up again? Play it over again, because it's really glitchy on my side, which means it's glitchy for the stream.
Watch this guy here, look, hugging this kid. And I imagine it's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here, but again, careful, it's very slippery right here. Yeah. It's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here, but that's what really, careful, please, really slippery, not kidding. That's what protesting is about. And so, watch this guy.
Protesting is about
traumatizing children.
Traumatizing children?
Look at these children. They're so traumatized. And look, they're traumatizing children. That's what protesting's all about. So
did he just admit that he's traumatizing children?
Basically. Or
on a microphone with a camera.
Failing to
showing a dad put his arm around his son walking out of the church. Like, that could be anything. Like, or it could be consoling whatever happened, but like
protesting is all about traumatizing.
Who hurt Don Lemon? We need to pray for this man. This man has been tortured.
We can at least say that he failed to attempt to prevent the traumatizing of children. But he's a journalist. This is what journalists are supposed to do.
In court, he'll say, no, see, he was undercover for MAGA. You see, he was there to expose this horrid group trying to attack our common citizens in Minnesota.
There you go. You're giving.
I'm giving him away. I'm giving him away too much. Yeah, there's my Don Lemon. Send me a check. I got your legal case there.
Let's listen to his response. This is his response to the news that there may be charges brought against him.
The MAGA administration and the fake news MAGAs are losing their mind over.
Okay, pause for a quick. The MAGA administration and the fake news MAGAs. This guy is a joke, man. Oh, these fake news MAGAs. And this is what I love too, because Don Lemon, and I just want to point this out, as opposed, in contrast or juxtaposition to what we have identified as the right response in several cases, which is pointing to Jesus, keeping things civil, not getting in, not being lured into the madness. Right. Just keep your focus on where it belongs.
Yeah.
He has taken the tact of, well, it worked for Trump, so it'll work for me. I'm going to call them fake news MAGAs. Okay, continue.
Okay. Oh, I want to hear that again.
The MAGA administration and the fake news MAGAs are losing their mind over something that's not even true. So let me just make it clear, because this a assistant attorney general, I don't know, gosh, what's her name? Something Hammett, Dillon or whatever. So I had no affiliation to that organization. I didn't even know they were going to this church until we followed them there. We were there chronicling protests. Once the protest started in the church, we did an act of journalism, which was report on it and talk to the people who were involved, which included the pastor, members of the church, and members of the organization. That's it. It's called journalism. First Amendment, all that stuff. For all of you people who believe in the First Amendment, absolutist, there you go. So why don't you talk to the actual person who is in charge of the organization and whose idea it was to have the protests at the church before you start blaming me for stuff for which you have no idea. Thank you for your attention to this man.
He really does think he's Trump. He's doing like that.
At the end. I know, but
he's got the playbook or something. He's taking notes and he's putting his own lemon flavor on there.
He's throwing the Black Lives Matter leader under the bus to protect his own innocence. He's throwing the civil rights leader or whatever, civil rights lawyer from Black Lives Matter under the bus. Hey, if there's anything illegal, talk to them, not me. I was just there. And yeah, sure, maybe I failed to attempt to prevent the traumatizing of children, but why don't you talk to the Black Lives Matter leader? They're the ones who did it. It's just this like disgusting, cowardly, smug, just it's just so gross,
slimy. Yes, it's very slimy.
So slimy,
play
so
both
gross.
Sides. It is just in plain daylight, huh? Play both sides like that, and I don't know, maybe there's a kind of want to go back to those older clips, but we don't have to do it now. We won't waste the time, but just want to see his countenance. But maybe was he surprised that there were white people at this gathering for this? Is that why he was like, there's a lot of white people? Maybe it's MAGA code.
What do you mean white people protesting other white people? This isn't right.
Yeah, he was like surprised or something. All right, well, this lemonade is gross.
Yeah,
it's disgusting.
He's trying to make lemonade and it is turning out
nasty.
sour.
Very nasty. So
but that's about that. We'll see if there's updated stuff, but it's a little bit of a culture war thing, but at the same time, this sort of he's pretty stoked about this. He's been kind of low. He's been having a hard time, getting views, getting viewers. He's got to get invited to a secret First Amendment thing.
If there is a script writer to roll out Don Lemon, Don Lemon he's got to have kind of he's one of these guys that kind of has a few moments and then nobody really pays attention to him for a while, and then he does something. It's almost written perfectly because of his stature and his place where he comes from with the CNN and all that whole era. He almost has to do something that is this right here is perfect for him to report on a protest, but also be part of the protest and, challenge some of these legal things that already exist in this country and bring that conversation to the forefront. But it is, maybe that's the the lawfare aspect of this. How do we get some of these laws into the minds or more into the conversation? Every so often we have moments like January 6th when all the constitutional law stuff was brought up and people are talking about it. And, partly that is the beauty of this country, is you can kind of bring it up and discuss it and have that conversation. Although, the law is what it is and how it plays out is how it plays out. But it's just interesting to see how it's almost tailor-made for a Don Lemon viral moment. It's too perfect. Now I'm getting suspicious. Who sent you, Don Lemon? And then, saying all the Trump lines to enrage MAGA. I bet you his analytics show that he's got more MAGA people watching him than just whatever, like natural followers or something.
For sure.
He knows he's got to be really inflammatory against MAGA. That's how he's going to get clicks. So
for sure, which is another good opportunity for, especially because his purpose for all of this was to enrage Christians. And there's nothing more enraging that he said other than, well, I'm a Christian. So he keeps saying that. I didn't play a lot of the clips, but in pretty much every one of those clips, he talks about how he's a Christian and these Christians are bad Christians. Why? And he blames them for everything. That kid crying in the pew, he's blaming that kid for Renee Good, for all the ICE things. This is
that's
just
part of the problem with the whole left logic, progressive thinking, whatever. There's no grounding, so it's just whatever for whenever, and that's partly why our society's falling apart, though. I mean, you can talk about the conservative revolution at the moment or something like that, but yeah, I mean, it's the law focus with especially laws that have been in the favor or used in the favor of the left, like the abortion thing, like the FACE Act. I just think it's interesting. It's almost like, hey, there's an imbalance here. We need more churches to have some application of this law. Apart from
if they go with the FACE Act.
Yeah.
Harmeet Dillon did not mention the FACE Act, at least that I saw. So who knows? Yeah, but it is interesting that it even exists in the form that it does.
Right. Yeah. Well, again, it brings awareness. I mean, for me, I'm not paying attention to the FACE Act on a daily basis, but here we are looking at it and seeing how there's occult symbology or echoes all up in everything we talk about. It's unavoidable.
Spiritual reality sort of expressing itself, whether anybody meant to do it or not.
Right.
These types of things, they are present and manifest, not because maybe, but not even if someone didn't mean to equate those things, the truth wants to come out.
Yep, absolutely. And everything is very spiritual this year too. And that's an interesting and important part of the conversation and I think that's what you've been talking about. And not just for believers, it's an opportunity for believers to really show, either publicly or not, just individually in your lives or your communities and your family, what it means to be a Christian. But it's all trickling down from the top, Basil, because
aliens,
they're here, or they're almost here, but we'll find out. According to what is this? thetimes.co.uk. Is that right? Yeah, the Times UK. The headline here: Bank of England must plan for financial crisis sparked by
aliens.
And according to Alex Jones,
who were made by the aliens.
Yeah, I'm not going to forget that. Also, I guess this is I better play the jingle to round this out here.
Aliens.
Yeah, we're mixing finance with the aliens now. So that's when you know. That's when you know it's starting to get closer. It's the warm-up act is leaving the stage and they're dusting it off for the main event. The subheadline: a former analyst at the central bank has urged Governor Andrew Bailey to put contingencies in place to prevent collapse if alien life is confirmed. And it says here the Bank of England must plan for a financial crisis being triggered by an official announcement confirming the existence of alien life, one of its former policy experts has claimed. Helen McCaw served as a senior analyst in financial security at the UK's central bank, preparing for events that could impact the economy. She's now written to Andrew Bailey, the bank's governor, urging him to organize contingencies for the possibility that the White House may one day confirm we are not alone in the universe. McCaw, a Cambridge graduate, believes a declaration of that magnitude would send shockwaves through the market and could trigger bank collapse and civil unrest.
Now, as if we need any other reasons for both bank collapse and civil unrest.
Now, I saw some takes. Some of the takes on X that were going viral, ironically, is a take that I heard from L.A. Marzulli 12 years ago. So, of course, L.A. was all over the alien conversation and the impact on society. But, the question was, if the White House announced alien life or some civilization or whatever, would all markets crash, just like is being considered here with this story? Or we'll make some memes about it, post it on the internet, and everyone gets up in the morning and goes to work. And I feel like unless there's like a mothership sitting there, and maybe that's the plan. Maybe that's, they're gauging what it would take to actually get everyone to freak out. Because if it's just a White House announcement, I don't think people are going to care that much. They're like, what is that? Is our tax dollars paying for that? Is it going into the research for the aliens? Or have you given it to the aliens? Like, those are the kinds of questions they're not going to be freaked out that the White House announced aliens, at least at this point in the internet era. Most people are exposed to the possibility and have been for several years, whether it's movies, TV shows, or just conspiracy talk becoming more mainstream. It's not a crazy idea anymore. So I don't know if this is really a true concern that if the White House announces something like this, that all the markets would crash. If it does crash, it would be the excuse, right?
Well, that's kind of the point. And I think it's interesting that she mentioned specifically that it would be the White House that releases this stuff. Again, kind of putting it strictly on the shoulders of the US and Trump, as if any other government on earth probably couldn't do the same thing. At least, Russia or China or whatever. It does beg the question, what would happen if Russia came out and confirmed UFOs? Well, at least in the West, it'd probably just be ignored or called, propaganda or something.
Putin's propaganda, right?
Yeah, but it's interesting how specifically it's being put sort of squarely on the shoulders of the U.S. that it would take a White House confirmation.
Now, this is a former, if I'm not mistaken, former analyst at the central bank.
Right.
So
there's a couple great quotes here. It says McCaw, who worked for the Bank of England for 10 years until 2012, insists that politicians and bankers can no longer afford to dismiss talk of alien life and snigger about little green men. The United States government appears to be partway through a multi-year process to declassify and disclose information on the existence of a technologically advanced non-human intelligence responsible for unidentified anomalous phenomena, she claimed. If the UAP proves to be one of non-human origin, we may have to acknowledge the existence of a power or intelligence greater than any government and with potentially unknown intentions.
Yes.
So the danger here specifically is people think, oh, there's something more powerful than the government. Oh no. Another example of the, to put it one way, inoculation against so many of these things that comes with following Christ, living through the knowledge that God exists and that Christ is active with us now, and these types of things. Because those who are not there, the idea that there is a power or intelligence greater than any government? Oh no. And she continues, it is entirely possible that government leadership and their central banks have not been properly briefed on the topic. UAP disclosure is likely to induce ontological shock and provoke psychological responses with material consequences. The group of people, we know this actually, it's something like 97% of college grads, a huge number of people.
This is the UK. I think the UK was the first survey, one of the first surveys about ET life. More people believe in extraterrestrials than they do in God. I think came from the UK. Let me look
I
that
think
up.
there was even more, but yeah. I mean, this is the thing. So it's kind of like, who is she even talking about? But the risk that she's bringing up here is, if people know that there's something more powerful than our earthly governments, that, well, she goes on, there might be extreme price volatility in the financial markets due to catastrophizing or euphoria. So either way, whether it's catastrophizing or euphoria, and a collapse in confidence if market participants feel uncertain on how to price assets using any of the familiar methods. So if it's confirmed that there's aliens, it's very financially put, it's very framed in financial terms. Well, we'll be uncertain on how to price financial assets.
Okay, I think it's hilarious. The next line there. There might be a rush to perceived safe assets such as physical gold, other precious metals, and some type of government bonds. So government bonds is third in that list, but there might be a perceived rush towards physical gold. Are you paying attention to the metal markets? There is a current perceived rush.
Because they know the aliens are coming. People know that
that's what I'm saying. The aliens are pumping silver and gold. It's time.
Yeah,
but yeah,
the elites are running to physical gold and silver because they know disclosure is coming.
I mean, this is it's crazy. This is what I just this is.
Although it does say, listen to this. Alternatively, precious metals might lose their status as perceived safe assets if people speculate that new spacefaring technologies will soon increase the supply of precious metals. And we're looking at this really sort of precarious situation with gold and silver right now. The silver mint, the United States Mint, just repriced their silver dollars. I think it was $160.
Yeah, that's
insane, man. Which is basically the government pre-pricing pre-pricing silver at 160, where before I think it was around 80. Let's see, but the spacefaring technologies will soon increase the supply of precious metals, meaning alien technology means, gold will be worthless.
We could go harvest gold and silver from all the asteroids of the universe with our technologies.
Or maybe like rearrange atoms of, say...
Oh, yeah, just alchemy. Yeah,
alchemy, exactly. So right in her letter, she refers to the connection between the occult and extraterrestrials. What if the
new
aliens...
spacefaring tech is going to it's going to do the thing that alchemists have wanted to do forever.
She's basically referring to the Watchers. The aliens will teach us the technology, like the Watchers did, to turn lead into gold, like the alchemists and occultists of many centuries have sought to do. There might be a rush to digital currencies. Here you go, Gons. There might be a rush to digital currencies such as Bitcoin, which may prove appealing if people question the legitimacy of government and lose trust in government-backed assets. There's an advertisement for Bitcoin I haven't heard. The aliens are coming. Quick, get Bitcoin.
Bitcoin go to moon.
No, I've heard the aliens made Bitcoin argument. That's an old one. It's an old.
You can spend your Bitcoin on Mars or something.
Yeah.
She goes on, quote, if there's an official announcement and we get presented with very clear evidence that nobody is going to dispute, I would say that in a matter of hours, you are going to have total financial instability. Yeah, because we're so stable right now. If banks are failing...
I was going to say, what is that thing? A very clear evidence that nobody is going to dispute. What can happen where you have a majority of people agreeing that it is what it is, like this thing, whatever it is, alien tech or whatever? It would have to be pretty spectacular, Basil. It would have to be signs and wonders.
I think if the White House did come out, I think that would be enough for a lot of people.
I think so,
Just
huh?
the, for those who have been in it for a long time, I think alternatively is funny we would be much more skeptical if the White House
Yeah,
came out.
we would become those hyper skeptics.
Yeah,
Um,
it would
but
really
yeah.
be unusual. But I think for a lot of people, and as far as like the banks and the economic system are concerned, all they would have to do is just say it. I don't even
Oh, I
think they
know the economic side of things. That they have a lever on. Yeah, any story or narrative that is spun for the public to consume as the reason for any market movement is an up. Everything, it's all an up. So you can take it with a grain of salt with all that stuff. But yeah, I just wonder, what if the White House announces it? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just my brain. I just can't. It's the announcement can't be it. It's got to be like Trump is like, look at this, look, I'm unveiling a UFO, and then he like floats to the UFO or something, or he
maybe,
gets
yeah,
something crazy that nobody can dispute with
if
a bunch of
banks,
eyewitnesses. You need eyewitnesses because, ironically, we have got cameras everywhere, but because of the AI now, it's just as important to be in person to see something, and the value of eyewitness is reemerging as it was in the days of Jesus when he walked. So
if
keep an eye
banks
on things.
start failing, the payment system will collapse, and you'll have rioting on the streets because people can't fill up their cars with fuel or buy food at the supermarket. Even if you feel it's very unlikely, it's madness not to consider it and plan accordingly. It's madness not to plan
Madness.
accordingly, central bank. And then it
Thank
goes
you,
on.
central bank.
Let's see here. Is there anything else? It talks about how it used to be a conspiracy theory, but everybody blah blah blah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the gist of it. Yeah, so there you go. It's buy Bitcoin.
She even convinced her husband too. Look at this. My husband was skeptical. Now he realizes this is a really serious issue. That's cute.
Well,
they got the couple involved in the whole
and
operation.
here's the serious truth about it is we know that there is a transition coming, that they are working on transitioning the whole economic system. It has lots of different aspects to it. You can talk about blockchain, you can talk about this, you can talk about lots of ways to talk about it. But like every shift that at least the US has ever gone in, to really have the transition take place, there needs justification. And this justification must be done in accordance with an emergency or with a paradigm shift. You can't really solidify a transition like that without some sort of real paradigm shift that hits people right where it counts.
COVID was that. I mean, that most people have experienced a powerful paradigm shift that occurred right in front of us, and we lived through it. So, yeah,
and
I don't think it's hard for people to relate to that.
But
how it looks.
If you've been paying attention for long time, I know there's a lot of people who are kind of new to the thing, and that comes with its own sort of willingness to pay attention. But especially if you've been in it for a long time, you've gone through so many of the various chapters of both disclosure and economic sort of transition. It does beg the question, how much response will be skepticism, and does the skepticism even matter? There's a lot of
it may not shape or change anything. That's
a lot of hullabaloo in the space recently about aliens and demons and which is which and that whole thing or whatever. And how does that reflect, like you say, with an official disclosure? And it seems like the people who are all, who will be maybe either the most skeptical or the least skeptical with an announcement of aliens are sort of the ones who are already aware of the sort of financial transition, or at least philosophically with cryptocurrency, or at least fiat currency. And it's also happening at the same time as all the Fed drama.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's obviously a level of spiritual change going on, in terms of the beast, if you will, the entire system. it's evolving. It's like shedding its old snake skin, and we're starting to see this like fresh, new, shiny governance. We didn't bring the story, but Mark Carney, remember the technocrat from Canada? He came out and said that it was very strange the way he said it too. He was like, we're working with China, we're building a new world order. And we haven't had like a good new world order story in a while, but people were discussing it because obviously anytime somebody of that caliber mentions the new world order, they're, all the old stuff comes out. A lot of the truthers start, sharing their work and stuff. So,
and so intentionally too. It was
it was such a weird thing. I mean, we can go find it and find it, but I bring it up because the transition, the change, the reset, whatever you want to call it, it's certainly taking place. And the alien, it's almost like they're setting up more and more this alien narrative as either a backup or or something like a hedge in case something pops off. They can it's kind of ready to go
right
in the background. And we're just kind of it's always been there, but we were seeing it creep up to the front. And maybe it's for the misdirection or the deception. But there was another point that I was going to make about this. Oh, the central bank, the Bank of England came out and they did not comment because they probably already know the technology, or the folks that are involved in the Bank of England are probably a lot more privy to what's really going on than the former analyst at a central bank. So that's the other part of it. Like, how much of this is like, okay, even the peons in the central bank are starting to question things. Maybe it's time we gotta change it up a little bit up here in the dark demonic high places and refresh. Because again, these are topics that have been around for a long time. Do you remember John Podesta? Pizzagate guy. I bring this up just because the UFO topic. Keep in mind the UFO topic being a separate topic from the alien topic. They're tied together, but they are two separate
Hillary
things.
Clinton's, I believe, campaign manager for
yes.
the 2016 election.
Yes. So he was part of the Obama administration, I believe. He had a role there. And yes, he was helping Hillary during the 2016 elections. And in 2015, it was reported, this is from Vox, back in 2015, John Podesta's top regret on leaving the White House is he didn't reveal the truth about UFOs. His greatest regret after all the weird, creepy things he did. The biggest thing he regret was not destroying people's lives or children's lives. It was not revealing the alien thing. So it's always in the background. And I think we should all approach this with a skepticism that is grounded. And look, we talked about how the point of Jesus helps us through all of this. And man, the Genesis 6 topic being a firm foundation for Christians to approach this topic of UFOs and aliens without being pulled into the New Age or the occult, or because once you start looking into this realm, it's if you don't have Christ, you're sort of lost in whatever. Maybe even all that emerging, maybe Dr. Heiser putting out his work academically and all that stuff was a level of divine intervention to prepare the church for as this topic of aliens becomes much more political and economic as we're seeing here. It's important to understand that there is a biblical angle to this that can be grounded and points back to Christ without losing. And of course, there's different flavors, and there's a debate in-house about what a demon exactly is and what a fallen angel. This is the whole thing. But in general, I think it's we're at a point in time where a lot of our foundations, Basil, that we've been building off of with just our work, but the work of others as well. Of course, we're standing on the shoulders of giants when it comes to this type of research biblically. It's coming in handy. It's keeping me sane. If I didn't have that foundation as a believer, I might be kind of like, whoa, what is going on here? How do I kind of reconcile the belief in God with all this alien talk that governments are starting to do? And now my bank account can be affected by this alien thing. So I can see how if you don't have a little bit more of that foundation scripturally, people can be lost. So maybe that's what the Bank of England are banking on, the uneducated to freak out and sell all their monies. So all the money goes back to the hands of the controllers, and there you go. Psych. Psych.
Along the same lines, while we're at it, before we move on here, just to mention, this morning, it's being reported an S4 severe solar radiation storm is now in progress.
Right.
This is the largest solar radiation storm in over 20 years. The last time S4 levels were observed was in October of 2003. Potential effects are mainly limited to space launch, aviation, satellite operations, things like that. Now, solar radiation storm is a little bit different from the sort of geomagnetic storm, although they are very much related. And so looks like the range, keep an eye out tonight, folks. It looks like if you live, let's see, in Northern California, or somewhere along that same line, Northern Tennessee, kind of cuts right across the middle of the US. You're going to have overhead auroras, or you could have overhead auroras, from that point down to it's just right about there on LA. Maybe not going to make it down to San Diego. You've got aurora glow to the north, perhaps. I don't know what time this is going to be at, but yeah, pretty serious solar storm going on right now.
Nice.
In fact, it happened overnight, so it's had enough time for the effects of that storm to start, bombarding our magnetic shield thing. But yeah, very exciting. Just in time.
Real quick, I found the article. Of course, we don't plan for these things, but it always happens. The article from 2012, more than 33 million UK citizens believe in extraterrestrials, compared to just over 27 million, less than half the country, who believe in God. So this is 2012, so it's a little outdated, but we didn't look for the 33. It's just there. It's there. The other thing, Basil, for the because you're kind of mentioning the activities in our heavens, there is a UFO narrative, an old one about I think it was during the Cold War with Russia. They were going to try to launch some nukes or something, and the UFOs came and stopped it. Or maybe it was Germany. I forget the exact narrative, but basically UFOs intervening on nuclear weapons being deployed. Like that's a fairly common, if you're in the world of conspiracy and UFOs, you come across that story and that narrative. And I'm wondering, because of all the talk of World War III and the nukes and all this stuff, I wonder if they're trying to pull off because at some point there's like a critical mass moment, right? Where all this change is happening slowly, frog in a kettle, where there's that point where like a threshold where things will be completely different. Like right now things are changing, but it's not like completely different. I wonder if it's going to stay gradual, or if they're going to have this moment where you get financial crisis, World War III, aliens, market reset, like all of it at once. And then, we're off on our way to Mars or whatever,
Yeah.
Go on to the next phase. Like that moment, that black swan moment for everything.
Well, and that's
collapse of
kind
everything.
of the thing. This is kind of part of the part of preparing ourselves as well, because on one hand, things are totally different, and huge events, big things can totally happen, and they do happen all the time. But there's a difference between like a total change in the state of, the sort of global situation or whatever,
Our day-to-day
broad meta situation.
Yeah.
But your day-to-day can stay basically exactly the same. This is something that you get a lot from countries who experience war, who experience something like civil war, Ukraine or whatever, where the status of things, and it kind of reflects the sort of spiritual parts of reality, the sort of meta invisible parts of reality, and you can put in political as that kind of meta invisible part as well, because the world can be completely different, the status can completely change, things can be completely unrecognizable on the broad scale. But when it comes down to it, you gotta wake up in the morning, and you gotta eat the food, and you gotta drive the car. And so your day-to-day can stay almost exactly the same. Um, Even when living in a totally different sort of meta situation. Like I said, you hear this in countries that have a civil war or experience war where, the country is mobilized for war and things are happening. But for most people, you still wake up in the morning, you still technically have a job you got to go to, unless the fighting and the bombs are dropping like in your neighborhood and you're hiding in a bunker or something that day. But that's one of the really kind of weird parts about it. And the I would say the predictive programming or the psyop aspect, you watch a movie and it's a war movie and overnight everything changes, or the alien lands and you got to get in your car and you got to drive away, and when in reality a lot of these big huge changes don't really immediately come with very big daily changes for most people. Which is something, which is why I think, at least for me, doing the show is quite important. And why I think something very important to me and us here is kind of that recognition of like, hey, these are the big, broad meta things happening around us. It may be easy to two things: either totally not pay attention and totally not know what's going on and just totally keep doing your day to day and be totally disconnected from the knowledge of what's going on. Or the other negative side of that, the other side of that coin is, seeing the big meta changes and then freaking out and like, you turning your own day to day upside down when it might not be necessary, and kind of getting caught up in the mania, which a lot of times, that they want us to get caught up in that mania, which changes our habits in all sorts of ways, and usually is an aspect of social engineering for them to change our habits for whatever purposes they want. So, it's good to be aware of the differences, and, it'll help you know exactly when to change your daily thing or get in the bunker or whatever.
I was going to say, because the person who was living one way and getting their food from this one spot, and those things might change. Some of those little details, or it could be pretty impactful for people who have been going to the same marketplace for a long time. It gets raided, or it gets destroyed or burned down. Like, those things can change. But Sir Darren in the chat was making a good point that, hey, COVID didn't happen in one day. Actually, interestingly, the financial collapse of the markets, I think it retraced like 30 something %, and it happened in 33 calendar days. Of course it did. They're not going to do something like that without numerological significance. But yeah, I think you're right. So not paying attention to it on one hand is like, you're not going to have the stress, but also when something happens and something does change, you won't necessarily know what's going on. You'll be like, wait a minute, what happened to my shop here? Well, we were bombed. Like, oh, okay, well, I guess I got to figure something else out. And you can go on with your day or your way. But then on the other side, freaking out about it is also not healthy. I find it hilarious that God made it so we have to sleep every night, because there's just something comical with the idea that we do this life. We're up. There's revolutions. There's violence in the streets. There's all this stuff happens, but then everyone has to sleep at night. they inevitably fall asleep, and they got to like sit there and be completely vulnerable to any external anything while they just while we sleep and recover, and then up at it, we're going at it again. But so yeah, I think some of those perspectives, staying grounded, staying true to the word and to the best we can, just pointing to God, it keeps us grounded. It keeps me grounded anyway. And I know it does for you too, Basil, because otherwise, man, the world is actually kind of crazy. So it's because I talk to people and they're like, hey, how do you do the show, a news show? It sounds insane to them now, and then you hear their perspective and it's like, you're right, it is kind of insane. You do have to have a different mindset to be looking at world events constantly. You almost have to divorce yourself as far as like the spiritual aspects of it. And that's probably the best way to do it, because then we can analyze it without being inside of it, because it's a whole different game when you're in the system, or at least, sort of sucked into the apparatus. And that will bring us to this last story here, Basil, before we thank some producers. And this is, do we have, I don't think we have a jingle for this. I think Jonathan F. has made some audio clips of it. But let's see what this is. I don't know what this is.
Oh my goodness, my precious Basil's and Kansas.
I don't know why Gollum is talking to us, but it's labeled Nick. It's labeled Nick, so that's why I hit it. We're talking about Nick Fuentes. There was a clip of Nick Fuentes that's going around over the weekend.
Which there's a lot less of these days. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, what happened? What happened? Everybody was freaking out. He was public enemy number one. Yeah. People. What's interesting too is a lot of, and maybe I've mentioned this on the show before, but some peers of mine in church, some of the leadership, their children, they're teenagers or they're going into college, big Nick Fuentes fans. A lot of them. So like the younger generation really like Nick Fuentes. And he's been saying some kind of wild things. I think I saw a couple clips over the past week that he said Jeffrey Epstein was a cool guy. Like he was framing it in like it's satire or whatever, but he was framing it in the context of like, he had all the blackmail footage for all the thing. And, he's a super cool guy. And people were getting very upset about that. But anyway, here's Nick Fuentes hanging out with, I think that's Sneeko. And these are streamers. And some guy in the middle. I don't know who all these people are. I can't keep up with the Joneses bad. I can't keep up with these young folks. But here's a clip of Nick Fuentes talking about his potential new sponsorship.
Nick's saying, you're saying truly, when are you going to take?
What's that? No sound?
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay.
Nick's saying, you're saying truly, when are you going to take the gold deal? I heard that was a big deal.
I think I'm going to take it, yeah.
I think you should.
What is the deal? Well, it's just like a gold sponsorship.
Okay.
People are buying gold. And the reason why I have to take it is because it's Mark Levin's old sponsor.
Oh, okay.
So it's an old Mark Levin gold sponsor. And they said, I don't like Mark Levin anymore. I want to support you. So they're taking his deal and giving it to me. So otherwise, I don't think I would have taken it, but I have to just mod Mark Levin. It's just on account of.
Is it a big deal?
Yeah, it's like a 7-figure deal.
Not bad.
Congrats. Yeah, so it'll be, I don't want to get ahead of myself. We're negotiating it, but it'll be an interesting deal. It'll be the first sponsorship because I only do super chats and merch and subs.
I was going to say, man, it's really difficult for you. It's crazy because you're getting like literally no sponsors ban on everything. And I pretty much said everything that you have, but I still get brand deals.
What a different world, Basil. A different world we're living in.
Doing it. Selling out.
Okay. So here we had Nick Fuentes talk about his gold deal, 7-figure deal. So sounds pretty big. He had to take it because it's the same, company, gold company or whatever, that had sponsored Mark Levin. Mark Levin being a political analyst, an American broadcast personality. He has got a he's like neoconservative, and he's got a very strong pro-Israel stance on things, which is obviously why and he's been very vocal on X as well. Mark Levin has been very vocal, bringing up Nick Fuentes, mentioning his name and calling all sorts of terrible names of Nick Fuentes. But anyway, yeah, changing of the guard, but it is really like sports, because you could, in sports, a player can be cast as a hero, but they can also be cast as a villain. If they trade teams or go to a different team or something like that, they can be presented to the public as the bad guy. But the sponsors are still the same, they're still, the money's still rolling in. But the part that kind of jumped out at me was that this guy in the middle, I don't know who this guy in the middle is, maybe someone in the chat knows, but he was saying like, hey, I've pretty much said everything you've said, Nick Fuentes, and you can't get any sponsorships. Must be really hard. He said, it must be hard. Mm-hmm. And then he said, he gets sponsorship deals for saying the same thing. What are we doing? I'm not saying we have said things that Nick Fuentes and this other gentleman are saying, but like, what is it is it so, I don't know, is it just standard for the younger people that sponsorships and deals and all these things are just like, if you're going to make content, like that's what you're banking on. You're banking on
Oh,
the
of course.
sponsors, and that's where you get the money, and that's where you get
That's where it
going.
comes from. Yeah, there's nobody gets into
Premise, presupposed.
into whatever they would call it, sort of content creation or something. The goal is inevitably sponsorships. And that's the thing, you know, with the now Nick Fuentes has been sort of banned and what they would call brand unfriendly. You know, he's not brand friendly for the longest time. So he has a different situation when it comes to the sponsorships or the lack thereof until today, where the gold company that sponsored what's his face, Mark Levin. Yeah, sort of famous Christian Zionist, right? Is that right? Am I getting
Pretty
that
much.
right?
Yeah.
So, you know, there's an aspect of, well, I don't know what to call it, maybe owning the Zionists. Maybe Nick would kind of phrase it or think about it that way. But a 7-figure deal to go from never having a sponsorship ever, which we can relate to getting a 7-figure deal. Now, of course, I'm just catching up on this right now, kind of as you're telling us the story. I'm scrolling through stuff. This is obviously being used as a huge, I guess, reason to turn on Nick Fuentes, and there's various reactions to that. But that's kind of the general thing, you know, taking a 7-figure deal after never having a sponsor, being totally brand unfriendly for 1 million years. And then turning around and a company that was supporting a Christian Zionist comes and supports you for 7 figures. That's an insane turn. I mean,
well, gold's gone up quite a bit. Yeah, so break off less gold to give, you know.
Maybe that's the cash out. I mean, he's just maybe
they're cashing out on Nick Fuentes.
The writing on the wall.
His audience.
Like, hey, we need.
You're right. They needed liquidity from the young people. So they're like, hey, we'll get the streamers. That's a great place to dump all of our gold.
He's cashing out. He had his moment in the sun. You know, he's still making whatever money from donations or merch or whatever. But he kind of sees that he's not in the algos anymore. He sees that the whole conservative coalition's falling apart. And it's, you know, it's the last chance to get that bag, man. You gotta get that bag when you go.
You and I mean, I think you and I would turn down a 7-figure deal if it's definitely not right. I mean, we're not going to do any sponsorships, but like, it would
have to be 8 figures. I've been very clear on this.
Look, if we're going to go that far, might as well call it 9. I mean, inflation is a thing, Basil. So if we're going to really, you know, protect the future, then we should be asking for 9.
That's what I'm saying.
Come on, how many billionaires are there?
Have to be. If they want us to stop,
still in the hundreds of millions.
Like I said, years ago, I've already set my price, and I've set the code words so everybody will know that I've sold out. It won't be secret. I will let you know when you can no longer trust me. I will use the code words I set out in whatever it was, 2022 or 2021. The Canarians know. If it's not advertised, you will hear the code words and you'll know that I've sold out, and that's that. And God bless you. And it's been a great day. The code words have not been spoken yet. We have yet to even.
No, that's good. They may never be spoken. The rate we're on. So
well, if we keep talking about Jesus like this and how, you know, disconnecting from the sort of vampiric emotional you know, blood sucking agitation system, beast system, that's not very brand friendly. Okay, telling your followers to not be emotionally what's the word, emotionally manipulated by what we say or what happens in the world, that is not a money making opportunity. That is opposite of what sponsors want to hear from from those who sponsor them. So 8 figures. I'm not getting out of bed for less than 8 figures.
Ah, interesting. Okay. Well, I'm seeing Simpsons conspiracies about Trump passing away in the month of January 2026. So
Okay, there you go. We haven't
Putting
seen
it
that.
out there. Putting it out there. The Simpsons predict everything, right?
All right, everybody. Well, who knows? Will we get the 8-figure deal popping in from a very suspicious advertiser?
I can't believe you lowballed us at 8 figures. That's
I'm just saying. I don't want to seem inconsistent. I'm telling you, I've already gone through all this. I have set the code words. I have set the limit. I am consistent. And
I was not consulted on any of this.
no, you I don't. You seem to not remember, but you
probably don't.
refused to participate.
I did. You're right. I think you're right. Yes.
My code
all right.
setting and
Maybe I'll put together my own. I'll put together my own thing and
negotiate.
I got kids. I'm gonna tack a number. I'm gonna tack a 0 to that.
Yeah.
So 9 figures. 9 figures. Everybody.
Canary Kev says it right here. It'll be so easy to tell if you two sell out. You don't need any code words, Basil. I'm telling you. Look, I'm not trying to be dishonest here. I'm just saying, if the deal comes in, you will know it, and that'll be we'll go. I'll bid you adieu. It'll be wonderful. I'll totally understand. But you can
Would you bless the longtime producers? With something fun. No, something. No, it doesn't have to be money. Just something cool. Give them a face reveal. That would defeat the purpose of staying anonymous.
No.
All these years.
I will disappear. No, yeah. I'll keep doing the show. Like I said, I'll keep doing the show, but you'll know. You'll know when the deal has been made. All right, Guns.
All right.
That's not today, nor will it probably ever happen, because as long as we keep talking about Jesus like this, we are brand unfriendly. And that is why we're on the value for value model. It's very simple, folks. You see them dropping left and right. The people who you thought would always stay true to what's going on to what they talk about, to what they, pushing back against the man or whatever. But here, we're on the value for value model. We don't take any money from corporations, commies, cartels, no sponsorship deals, no platform partnerships, nothing. We're entirely sustained and supported by our God, first of all, and by our producers. And who are the producers? That's you, dear listener, because the value for value model is very simple and it requires participation, or else the value stops working. We try our best to create as much value as we can, as often as we can. And the understanding is there that you, dear listener, are a part of the project. You're a part of the project at any moment, in any amount, in any way, because we create as much value as we can, and that will stop. It will stop if value does not come back into the system. And that's not a threat. That's just the nature of nature. That's just the rules of the universe that God set forward. And it's very easy. If you get any value from anything we do, anything we say, anything we pray, whatever it is, you can come in and put value back in. It's a bonus for us, keeps us alive, but it also is a very rich and rewarding way to participate in the things that you believe are bringing value to this world. It makes you a part of what it is. And we have producers who have been producing the show for many years in various ways, in various amounts, and you can just ask them. It is a totally different relationship with the media that you consume when it relies on your participation. And you can produce the show with your time, your talent, your treasure. It's not just all about money. If you've got talents, if you're artistic, if you can code, if you have time on your hands to help with stuff on the back end, all of that stuff is the way that our producers put value back in. And we're very grateful for that. So you can learn all about it and participate by going to canarycry.support. And I want to, let's see here. I want to thank some executive producers, because the executive producers There are people who come in, they support the show for $100 or more for any individual episode, and we thank them very much. Of course, I want to give a big old shout out and thank you to all of our monthly producers in whatever amount that is to you. Okay, you get to choose. It's a personal decision for each person's individual situation. It's like the widow at the temple. It's whatever it is that God has equipped you with, has given to you, and has put on your heart to put into his work here on earth. It is all up to us individually, and we're so grateful for everything from the $1 a month to the $100 a month. It's the only way that we can wake up every show day and look ahead and say, okay, yeah, we can do this. We can survive for a little bit longer. But the executive producers, they come in, they go a long, long way to keeping us alive. And there are people who have come in and supported the show for $100 or more for any individual episode. We got a few to thank today, Gons. It started out a little soft, little soft on the producer list, but it got stronger as the show went on. So we're very grateful for that. I want to start with let's thank executive producer Felicia D.
Felicia D. Thank you, Felicia D.
Thank you very much. Felicia D came in with a nice round number. And just for everybody's knowledge here, when you produce the show with a nice round number on the 5 or the 10 or something like that, that's you telling us you'd prefer we do not disclose the amount that you produce with. But if you don't mind us disclosing the amount, you can make it some sort of funky number. Some people put 33 cents on there. They put whatever, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just have some fun with the number, and that'll tell us that you don't mind us disclosing. But thank you very much, executive producer Felicia D.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yes, indeed. And we also have executive producer Sir Jamie, not the Lannister, came in on a Monday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir Jamie.
Appreciate that. We also had, of course, executive producer Sir Alex Protocol, V2, Baron of the Breen Protocol. And I'm trying to
$100.33.
Oh yeah, $100.33. Yeah, thank you. And 455 episodes in a row, and a 109 executive producer streak. Bleep blop bloop.
Let's
executive
go.
streak. I am trying my darndest to see if this executive producer has a pseudonym that they want to use, but I cannot find it. So I'm going to thank executive producer Carrie G.
Carrie G, thank you.
Thank you very much, Carrie. You know what? I think somebody had a note here. Carrie G, thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate. The note was later. Okay. Thank you very much, executive producer Carrie G. Sorry, I'm a little frazzled trying to figure stuff out on the back end here.
Frazzle, dazzle, basil.
Razzle dazzle, but very generous. All of our executive producers, God bless you guys. You're doing some very heavy lifting, especially on episodes like today. We did have a couple of producers come in under the executive producer amount. I want to thank, and I want to start with thanking Sir Darren Knight of the Hungry Panda.
Sir Darren, thank you.
Thank you very much. Sir Darren came in for what I believe was 1111.
Oh, 1111. There we go.
11. And sent a note here that says, look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. Amen. Thank you very much.
Amen.
You recognize that piece of scripture, or is this just inspiration?
It is. I think it's scripture. I do recognize it. I don't know where it is.
I'm gonna do a little search
look
here.
for it.
Ephesians 5:15.
There you go.
Could be through 17. Ephesians 5:15. Thank you very much, Sir Darren.
Thank you, Sir.
And of course, we've got Cage Rattler Coffee coming in.
Cage Rattler Coffee.
Cage Rattler Coffee. where value for value never tasted so good.
And that's right. Go to CageRattlerCoffee.com, where Canarians have banded together, put their skills, their heads, and their hearts together to source some excellent coffee from all around the world, coming from all over the place. We've got the Nicaraguan blend, the Costa Rica, I think there's an Ethiopian blend, all this good stuff, roasted bean by bean by another Canarian who is truly passionate and talented at roast. Okay, maybe they roast multiple beans at a time. I don't know. I don't actually know how it works. But it is then made available to Canarians by Canarians at CageRattlerCoffee.com. They are still running the New Year discount code, I believe. Just use the discount code New Year. And I think that's a 10% off there. And the good news is that you're not giving your money to giant corporations that are selling you moldy coffee and poison and hate everything that you believe in. This is, you can know that everyone who is benefiting from Cage Rattler Coffee, whether it's the sale or the receiving or whatever, is on the level, and a portion of every sale goes to support the show, which is very important. So thank you very much to CageRattlerCoffee.com, and thank you to everybody who enjoys CageRattlerCoffee.com. I just get continuous notes about how it is the best coffee in the universe. That's just the feedback I get. I also enjoy it very much. I have it every day. Gons, I believe you do too.
Mhm.
So go to CageRattlerCoffee.com. Enjoy it.
Yep.
Have fun.
Do it.
Okay, I believe that concludes the list of financial producers for today, unless somebody came in recently. I have not dug in, but if you came in since the beginning of the show, I will make sure to thank you on Wednesday's show. Let's see here. Other than that, you can produce the show by creating art or creating music, whatever creative talent you have. You can make something for the show and go to canarycry.art, canarycry.art, where you can upload that art, and we'd love to feature it on the show. I don't think we had anything for today, so we'll be waiting patiently for our artists to find their inspiration and bring their stuff to the show. Very important to participate in creating the culture of the show that way.
Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
also, if you haven't done it yet, take out your phone and text the word canary, just one word, canary, to 877-740-3226. Again, that number is 877-740-3226. And you'll get on the Canary Cry text message alert system. We have almost like 1,000 people on that list who get a text message before we go live throughout the week. It's a great way to get a reminder. Look, the platforms are probably not sending you reminders. So this is a great way to catch the live show if you want, or even if you're not catching the live show, the fun part is you can text us back at that number. I see them, I read them, I appreciate them all. Let's see here. The Russian handler texted in and says it sounded like that Russian song from the guy jumping out the window. It says Russian handler here. It sounded like it was a mix of two languages, Russian and possibly one of the native languages of one of the Muslim nations that reside in Russia, Caucasian or Tatar, possibly others. I was only able to distinguish less than half the words. Well, you know, that's rap for you. Sometimes I need to see the lyrics and able to hear them. Yes, I did not hear any profanity, but then again, I was not able to separate most of the lyrics from the music. I'm pretty sure it was in two languages. Thank you very much to our Russian handler, keeping us posted.
Yeah, love it. This is why we have producers, to break down the mysteries that, you know, you and I, Basil, can't figure out on here. So thank you.
True value.
Yep.
678 says, God bless and happy MLK Day. Thank you very much. 250 says, yay, I get to watch live today, praying for the show. Thank you very much. We need all the prayers that we can get. 406 says, oh, good. I need a break from Mike Winger's latest exposure video. Have a great show, boys. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. I did another like 6-hour thing or something. He's going after some of the... Yeah, he's going after, you know, he does his thing, going after
Go
some
get
of
him, Mike.
Corruption.
Yeah, good. Get it. All right. Well, there you go. So you should join the Canary Cry text message alert system. Text the word canary to 877-740-3226. It's very fun and rewarding. And so I suggest that you do it. Okay. You have anything? Your birthday's coming up. Any announcements? Oh, yeah. Meetups.
Yeah. Birthday's coming up. But yeah, meetups. just want to mention a couple of them here. We got upcoming meetups. We got the North Glen. Well, no, but yeah, there's a North Glen, Colorado meetup at the Prost Brewing Company in North Glen, Colorado, Saturday, February 28th at 3 p.m. RSVP with Kona, and there's a phone number there. So go to canarycrysupplydrop.com and you'll see that there. And then also February 7th is 3 p.m. Canary Cry meetup in Louisville, Kentucky. Cannot be there if you're a spook or an op, but if you want to RSVP, it's lookglassdarkly, all one word, at gmail.com. So, and again, you can find all that at canarycrymeetups.com. And if you want to put together a meetup, simply follow the directions here. These directions still work, right? They make sense. Choose a location, figure out a date and time, make a flyer, promote. I mean, I think you can just email us some of these things and you know, you don't have to make it official, but just message us and then whatever you need. If you need someone to make a flyer for you.
We want it to be official. Just pick a time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, before we announce it. Yeah. So, okay, there you go. canarycrymeetups.com. Do that. Meet in public. That's going to be another trend. You know, I think a lot of people are touching on.
Can they meet in private?
No, it doesn't have to be in public. It can be in private. Yeah, just meet one another. Real life encounters will rise again in value as everything becomes artificial around us. So human to human contact will be vitally important and sacred, as it always has been. But, you know, we've kind of been pulled away with all of our screens and machines. So there you go. Yep. Let's see. Is there something else? There's something, Basil, just kind of a throwback to a story from earlier, just a little tidbit, if you don't mind, if you have a couple seconds here before we wrap it up entirely. Don Lemon hits back at Nicki Minaj over comments on city's church protest now. Did you see the post by Nicki Minaj?
Yeah.
I censored it. But it's very funny because Nicki Minaj is not been traditionally, like, if you listen to her music, it's very vulgar, right? She uses a lot of vulgar language and whatnot. And she was sort of, I think even Charlie Kirk used her as an example of where we are culturally when it comes to a female rapper and, you know, some of the stuff she's rapping about and the language she's using. But then recently she was celebrated by TPUSA and Erica Kirk.
Oh, she's always been a Trump supporter. That's been
I know.
She is a Trump supporter that has been vocal in the past a couple times, but yes, an unusual ally to the conservative political movement.
Yes, and it's interesting because I'm seeing this the militarization of African Americans in America. It's been happening for a long time, obviously, but sort of more of a line in the sand. But it's just interesting that Nicki Minaj comes out. I think Don Lemon hit back and said she's not black or something, like some, of course, unrelated and psychotic view on the whole situation here. But it is also interesting that Hindustan Times had this headline first, and then I saw it go to all the different places, TMZ and all that. So I think we're still seeing the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act in effect here with certain types of news. Because Nicki Minaj, all she did was tweet something or post something on X, and then Hindustan Times made a headline, and then it became a story. You know, now people are talking about the black female rapper beefing with the gay liberal talking head, and you know, everyone's distracted once again. But I just thought it was funny. It's hilarious.
It's hilarious. Yeah, I think Trump may have responded to Don Lemon too. Here, I was trying to see.
Of course, you have to.
Who cares? All right.
I know.
Thank you to some producers who help us out with their time. I like to call them the time stamper.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
That's right. Thank you to Jade Bouncerson, I'm assuming, for helping out.
Yes.
Timestamps for last episode.
Yes. She is the only one right now who is
wonderful example of
into
someone who's got a couple minutes on their hands helping us out with stuff that we, goodness gracious, would not get done if it weren't for a producer giving us a little bit of their time. Thank you, Jane. But of course, Jam heads up the Telegram channel. Adam42 heads up the Discord channel. If you're a Telegram person or a Discord person or want to become those, you can go to canarycry.party. You'll see the invite links for both of those channels there waiting for you. Thank you to Joe for the feedback. Thank you to Clank for everything you do. And thank you to Sir Ike as well for helping us out with so many things. Where would we be without all of these producers? And other than that, share the show, folks. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Share it with whoever will listen, because it's harvest time. The laborers are few, and we got to get to work, folks. You just want to let everybody in your life know, anybody you've ever met or even those you have yet to meet, that Canary Cry News Talk has got their best interests at heart, and they need a little bit of influence, not getting wrapped up, caught up, and manipulated by all the emotional, psychological, and spiritual manipulations going on around them. Just share the show. We like to call it rattling cages, and all you got to do is walk right up to them, grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! Don't ever silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Guns, you got any last words?
Yeah, thank you for being here, and stay tuned. Tomorrow, the 20th of January, or today if you're listening to this later, the 20th is Penguin Awareness Day. Yes, so aware your penguins. And also, it's 1941, FDR begins fourth term as president, and then 2021, Rochelle Walensky becomes head of CDC.
Oh, Rochelle. Miss you, Rochelle.
Yes. So there you go. All those things happening tomorrow. We'll
Very
see you
good.
Wednesday.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, you know what to do. Think outside the gate.
We will hunt you down and make you pay.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
Sadly, the virus itself, particularly the variant called Omicron, is a type of vaccine. That is, it creates both B cell and T cell immunity.
I cry to the Lord with my voice, and to the Lord did I make my supplication. I pour out my complaint before Him. I showed before Him my trouble. My spirit was. It's there for me. I lived on my right hand and beheld, but there was no man that would know me. Refuge failed me. No one cared for my soul. I cried unto thee, oh Lord. I said, Thou art my refuge and my portion, in the land of the living. Tend unto my God, for I am grown very low. Deliver me from my persecutors, for they are stronger than I. Bring my soul out of prison, and I may praise thy name. Righteous shall compass me about, for thou shalt deal bountifully with me.
Out on the digital seas where the headlines run deep, Captain Basil and Gong's got the beast system beat. With a Bible in hand and a cry like the bird, they plunder the lies, spread the truth they've heard. Hoisting the sails on the Canary cry ship, deconstructing the news with a prophetic whip. From the Nephilim of old to the end time storm, these pirate preachers keep the faithful warm. Yo ho, Canary cry, raise the flag, declare him Lord. Basil and guns, cutting through with the sword. In the 5th Gen War, they raid the dark night, the Montage clerics, fighting for the light. Yo ho, Canary cry. Value for value we sail, Jesus is Lord, and the truth will prevail. Yo ho, Canary cry, raise the flag, declare it Lord. Basil and guns, cutting through with the sword. In the 5th Gen War, they raid the dark night, there's podcast pirates, fighting for the light. Yo ho, Canary cry. This is the way.
He's a Satanist from one of the Satanist churches here where they sacrifice babies.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
I love the Great Reset.
Canary cried out,